Feel the power of your determination taking control of your breathing. Feel the power of your presence, your gift, right now in this moment. Now think about you doing your best today on all the exercises we do together in the gym of life. See, we are so powerful, we get to think, create, imagine in our minds, and make real in the world. And that goes with everything. The way we do our exercises to the best of our ability is the same way we can do anything to the best of our ability.
Get ready for your Fit 711 home workout powered by Fit 711. Let's get started in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
Are you ready to work out? Are you ready to work out?
Let it drop now, 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 let it drop now.
Solo te quiero lejos de mí. Sé que no sabes de mí y no te puedo mentir. Lo que dicen en la calle sobre mí y no te voy a negar. Y no te voy a negar.
do Cruzeiro. Edilson no cruzamento pra trás. Que golaço! Que golaço! Que gol! Brasil!
Good morning, guys. You are more powerful than you can ever begin to imagine. Here's the game changer for me. I want to share with you. When I made the decision, the determination, the choice to take everything that has happened in my life, all the failures, all the mistakes, things I don't like, things I got angry about, things that I knew I could change, when I took all that negative energy, stored it up inside, and you can do this too, and made the decision to now transform it into the most beautiful light I can be, it changed everything. And now I'm on this path to infinite mind wealth that I want to share with you openly and honestly. You have that same power, but you got to find it within you. You got to make the determination within you. Have a great day, everybody.
So excited to dive into this topic for so many different reasons. It's kind of like the center of life in my mind. You know, one of the longest running studies on human flourishing, the Harvard study, also known as shorthand as the Grant study, basically tracked a whole bunch of people. It was actually done on men, and from what I understand, they're now in a second wave of that study where it's going to be multi-gender, which is pretty amazing. But what they did was they literally tracked people over a period of generations in their lives and measured almost every single thing that was going on to try and determine what makes for a good life, what makes people happy, what makes them flourish, what gives them a sense of meaning. And the longest running curator of that study was once asked, of all the different things that you have looked at, of the biometrics, the physiology, all like geography, career, all these different things, is there any one thing that really stood out as being sort of determinative of a life well lived? And his answer was love, full stop. And going deeper, it's the quality and depth of the relationships that we form that really make life extraordinary on so many levels. When I think about the work that I've been doing for probably about 2 decades now, and Brendan's been doing, so many of us that have this amazing privilege of being here with you, it's really looking at these big questions. And no matter where you look, this idea of relationships and how we relate to other people, it just keeps coming back to the center of the stage. And with good reason. It's that important. There's a ton of data that now shows that, but we don't need data. We know that intuitively. And if we had questioned that in any way, shape, or form, this last 16 months have pretty much reminded people how important other people are to them and their lives, to their happiness, to their sense of flourishing, their sense of connectedness. It's been a bit of a relationship cauldron to a certain extent. And I'm not just talking about intimate partners or life partners. I'm talking about on every possible level, whether it's work relationships, professional relationships, friendship relationships, enemy relationships, compassionate relationships, companionate relationships, romantic relationships. Everything has sort of been put under the microscope recently, and we've been tested in really big ways. I know it's been interesting for me. So I have worked from home for many years now, and I actually work full-time with my wife, Stephanie, and we play different roles in our company, and our entire team is distributed literally around the country and even internationally. So we've had to learn how to work in these kind of weird different modes that a lot of the world has been forced to switch to in the last year and a half or so. And we kind of figured, okay, so this is going to take some figuring out, but we kind of have it dialed in already. We didn't really know. There was a lot of work to do. And then we're working at home. And it also is very different. You know, we spent the better part of last year in New York City, which was a tough place to be for the first 3 quarters of the year. And then our daughter, who was in college, ended up having to leave early and come home. And we found ourselves, the three of us, you know, married with my wife and with my daughter there, working full time with my wife in the apartment, with my daughter sort of like exiled from school and home and then doing school remotely. And us in a situation, especially the early part of last year, where none of us felt like we could leave home. None of us could see anybody else. We couldn't interact with other human beings. So it was a very different experience that we really were not prepared to. But at the same time, as challenging as it was, as much as it brought up the powerful invitation to revisit how we interact with each other, how we relate to each other, how we can continue to cohabit a finite space in a way that feels both sacred and respectful, while being nourishing and alive and vibrant, and also allowing us to have our own places to go to. It's been a really interesting test. I used that word cauldron before, and I think a lot of us have felt that. And what's kind of funny is we ended up moving out to Colorado in September of last year, where we were for 9 months. And then because we wanted to see some friends and come back for a little bit, the three of us just wedged ourselves into a car. We essentially took everything that we owned, got rid of a whole bunch of stuff, and sort of sealed ourselves into a Subaru with a cargo box up on top, and literally just drove over a period of a week, the 2,000 or so miles cross country back where we're actually kind of hanging out right now in a little cottage you can probably see behind me in Western Massachusetts. And that drive was sort of the, it was the final test for us. Could we actually, having figured out how to be together in like this confined space in a confined world, could we then spend a week together in a car, literally wedged into a place, because there was no room to move in this car anywhere, and be okay? And we were. It actually was kind of a fun, powerful experience. And it's reminded me so much about the important parts of life and the important parts of how to be with other people in a way that no matter what the circumstances happening around you bring you, the interrelational part of what's happening still stays healthy. It still stays constructive and generative. So over the years, I have had an astonishing opportunity to sit down with so many leading voices, luminaries, primary researchers in all different aspects of relationships, from love to friendship to collegial relationships, and learn from them. I've also studied a mountain of academic research because I'm a little bit of a geek like that. And I thought a fun thing to do, and hopefully valuable thing to do as we spend our time together today, was to share a little bit of things that have come to me, my own insights. But I also wanted to take a couple of the really key lessons that have been shared with me by guests on the Good Life Project podcast over nearly a decade now, that I have found to be utterly transformative on a relationship topic. So I'm going to talk about 3 different things and a couple of different people here. And we'll start out with something called bids. So the power of bids. Now, the notion of bids was introduced to me originally by a couple who I met, John and Julie Gottman. Now, John and Julie have been together for a very long time in their own professional and personal relationship. And they've ended up in the beginning, John was primarily a researcher. He was an academic, taught at a university, ran a lab, and he researched love. Julie was a clinical psychologist who focused intensely on relationships too. And they used to have these really fun debates with each other because John would say, this is what's happening in the laboratory. We know it. Here's the data. And Julie would say, but dude, this is what's happening in my clinical practice. Like when I'm sitting in front of people face to face, actually talking with them, it's a totally different experience. It's fun to be in a room, to watch them sort of like interact and trade with each other, like tossing the baton between each other, and see how they built this beautiful relationship. But they introduced and they noticed this fascinating thing, which is that on any given moment in time, what happens with two people in a room, whether it's romantic couples, whether it's friends, whether it's colleagues, is pretty much all day, every day, we are in some way really big and overt, or kind of more subtle and nuanced. We are bidding for the attention and affection of other people. And what John and Julie did in this sort of like long-term longitudinal research was they looked at couples, newly married couples, and they would just sort of like watch their interactions in a room. And they were able to predict over a long period of time who was going to actually stay together and who was not. And in fact, they classified these partnerships into two different things that they sort of loosely termed the masters and the disasters. The people who are very likely to stay together and have, like strong relationships, the people who are very likely to end up apart. And started asking themselves, well, what's going on here? Like, can we actually identify something that's fairly universal across these two groups of people that would be predictive on a pretty consistent basis of success in relationships and failure? Then what they realized was there was something much bigger happening on a meta level. And it was all about these bids for attention and affection. What they realized was that as we make bids for attention and affection all day, every day, there are generally three responses to those bids. One is what they call turning towards. So let's say I'm sitting on the couch and I'm with my wife, Stephanie. And I'm kind of sitting there and I'm like, I have this shoulders is really bothering me. It's just really tight, right? That's very likely me bidding for a little bit of attention. And maybe I don't want to just outright say it, but things like this happen all the time, or maybe I'm opening the dishwasher and there's something, like I could use a little bit of help. Maybe I walk in, and so all the time we're sort of like making these bids for other people's attention and affection and help. Turning towards that would be something like would be acknowledging the bid and then in some way responding positively to it. So I'm turning towards the bid. Oh yes, like I see that's going on. Like if Stephanie's got a headache, let me just help rub your temples. Or so turning towards is acknowledging the bid and then turning towards it in a constructive and positive way. That's the first response to bids for attention and affection. Second is turning away, which means you're kind of like, whether you see it or not, you choose not to acknowledge it and not to respond to it in a constructive or positive way. The third is what they categorize as turning against. And this is not only not being helpful or not giving the person the attention or affection they want, but actively being aggressive in your response to it. So if that would be, if my shoulder hurts, or I'm a little tired, I'm a little headachy, or, that would be not Stephanie like reaching and saying, let me see if I can help work it out a little bit, or ignoring it, but it'd be actively saying, well, it serves you right because you're being a real idiot lately and you deserve this. So there are these three different things, right? So there's the bid for attention and affection, and then the three responses: turning towards, turning away, and turning against.
Blah, blah, blah. Hey, hey, here come the trouble. Hey, hey, here come the trouble.
Good morning, guys. Today we're introduced to Jack Ma in our top 10 rules for success. And his introductory cover there, I love his quote, what he says. He says, "The secret code for everyone is to keep your dream alive because you never know when it might come true." I love this. This is what we are meant to do. We are meant to dream. We are meant to be larger than our physical limitations. We've got that stored energy inside that is yearning, crying for more. We have that ability to take what we don't like, what we want more of, and slowly but surely work towards it. So here's Jack Ma, who has proven, even in a country like China, where entrepreneurship wasn't what it was today, and he's one of the ones that has started that path, and he's inspired so many. So hopefully this inspires you. Have a great day, everybody.
You know, your personality creates your personal reality. That's it. And your personality is made up of how you think, how you act, and how you feel. So if you keep thinking the same way, you keep acting the same way, you keep feeling the same way, everything stays the same in your life because nothing changes in your life until you change, right? So turns out if you keep thinking the same way, making the same choices, doing the same things, creating the same experiences, and feeling the same emotions, or responding to your life in the exact same way, you keep doing that, your biology tends to get more rigid. We fire and wire the same circuits, we hardwire our brain, and it only takes a small stimulation or a small thought or a response to someone or something. And like a sequence of thoughts, it just turns on automatically.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because in my first business, I struggled to believe in myself. I quit on my business partner. And the thing that saved me was watching the successful stories of entrepreneurs. They gave me the inspiration to keep going, as well as the strategies of what to do. And quite honestly, I still need their stories and motivation today as well. So today, let's live your best believe life and learn the secrets to a successful day. Enjoy.
Your biology, your neurochemistry, your neurohormones, your genes, everything stays the same because you're the same. So crisis and trauma is always the thing that gets a person to really start looking at, how do I really change, right? So we want to tell people, let's not wait for that. Let's learn and change in a state of growth and inspiration. So if you keep doing those same things over and over again, the middle life period, we become very, very programmable. So in order for us to change, we have to become conscious of how we think. We have to become really aware of how we behave, what our habits are, even how we speak. Now, this is a tough one. We have to really look at the emotions that we live by every single day and say, wow, this actually could be unworthiness. This could actually be guilt. But if you're too busy with your cell phone and your social media, and you're too busy with your kids and running around, and your environment can distract you from these feelings. So my interest is to get people to retreat from their lives, right? Just for 5-7 days and remove the constant stimulation in their external environment that reminds them of who they think they are as a personality. To separate themselves from the people they know and the places they go and the things they do at the exact same time. And then fill their brain with knowledge and information and then remind them that they're actually creating their life. So if your personality creates your personal reality, that means then in order for you to change your personal reality, you got to change your personality.
Secret number 2 is learn to wind down with Brendon Burchard.
Have you ever had difficulty winding down at the end of a busy day and you feel like, gosh, I can't sleep because of it, or you're not getting great sleep, or you just feel like constantly frazzled at the end of the day that you just wish you could have some sense of peace amidst all the chaos of the day? Well, what are you gonna do? I got 4 ideas for you today. The first one is just you must set up a discipline, a routine that you do every night if you're ever gonna make it any better. The hopes that one day we're just gonna, wander into a perfect evening where everything's, flowers and calm and meditation practice and everything's a perfect yoga studio around the house. That's not gonna happen unless you have a distinct set up intention that every night you're gonna follow a routine. You talk to parents and you talk about, their kids, and one of their favorite parts of their childhood is when the kids finally got on a routine. And when they got a routine, the parents finally felt like, oh, at least we can plan a dinner, or at least we know when we're gonna go to bed. It's like, as soon as you establish routines in your life, you start to be able to feel better. Well, the same thing goes with your evenings. Your evening shouldn't be a hot mess of like, oh, we watched the show, and now let me go check Facebook, and now let me do some Instagram, and now let me go do this, and random. It's like if it's a bunch of random things at the end of the night, what you're doing is firing off the dopamine molecule and hormone in your brain that says, I like novelty. And all these new things are firing up your brain, not winding it down. So the more randomness you have at the end of the night, the less likely you'll sleep well. The more likely your brain will be activated and want to do more things, it'll be more difficult to chill out. So make sure you have some type of routine. Here's what I recommend. The first point, transition from the busy day. You need to have your transitions. For some people, that is, you come home, you get in the house, you go to the gym, you work out, then you come back home. And now there's a break from work versus home. Other people, they drive to their house, they get into the house, they meditate for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it takes. Other people take a quick nap, whatever it is, or even some other people just take a walk around the house a couple times and just focus on releasing their thoughts and the stress from the day. Other people stretch and move. Whatever it is, you gotta have that transition routine. So what is it? You need to have something that says, I finished the work of the day, I'm going to wind down now. And you must activate a habit. For me, it's meditation and a walk. That keeps me sane. So when I get home from a day's work, even if I'm working from home, but I know I'm done now, I meditate, I walk around the block, and I'm in a good place. It's just something I immediately do, and I highly recommend it to you as well. Next idea, big idea. Don't get stuck in social media. Don't get stuck in front of screens. If you want to wind down, again, the way to do that is to avoid randomness and novelty, lots of new things. So watching, 3 seasons of a show is not gonna chill you out. It's gonna create a little bit of anxiety and dopamine where you're just like activated. You want to avoid looking at much of social media. I just tell people, if you really want to chill out and like wind down, maybe one show, that's okay, cool, but then read a book or go for that walk, or do something that removes you from all the crazy stuff going on, especially tweets or Instagrams or scrolling through news feeds. All that's only firing you up, not winding you down. Third big idea is make sure you have something that you do for gratitude practice. One great way to increase your happiness, but also help you calm down, is gratitude. So do you have a gratitude journal you can do at the end of the night? Do you have a moment where you can just take and just write down a few things you were happy from the day? Maybe a few things you learned? And some people, if you just can write down a few things you gotta do the next day, just to get them off your mind so you're not laying in bed going, what am I supposed to do tomorrow? And then you activate all the things you're supposed to do. Get that on a piece of paper somewhere, just get it off your brain, put it away, and now you don't have to deal with it anymore. Last idea, use the environment of your home to wind you down. Dim the lights, put on the house music that's calming music. Light those candles if you got the candles. Drop the temperature down to 68 or 69 degrees so your body gets ready for bed. When you get into bed, have your moment of gratitude where you thank and complete the day, where you say, this was a good day. This day is now over. I did my best. Everything today did pass. There's nothing more I can do to influence this day. This one is done. It is complete. Good job. I'm thankful for it. I'm ready for bed. Just tell yourself that. Like let your brain go, the day is done. And it releases all this expectation that your mind wants to have to keep thinking at night. So in bed, it's very important. Have that moment where you go, the day is done. I did a good job. Be grateful. Go to bed. If you can have that temperature set down, make sure the room is dark. Make sure you don't have any of those big alarm clocks that are casting light into the room. I mean, go for a pitch black, dark room at night. It's been proven in every sleep study to improve your sleep and the depth of your sleep and rejuvenation. So make sure pitch black room, no lights, no sound. If you think you need that ambient white noise, then there's plenty of ways you can do that, but make sure there's no screen casting light as you do that. Drop that temperature 68, 69 degrees, enter your sleep from a moment of gratitude. You'll feel a lot better tomorrow. You feel rejuvenated, you feel ready to go. Because if you can wind down well at the end of the day, then the next day when you wake up, you'll be like, I'm ready for the charged life.
Secret number 3 is develop an ORS mindset with Jay Shetty.
You've done so much. And really, from what I observed even, you really started in 2000 and I'd say the sort of external social media content journey started in 2016.
Yes.
That is mad. That is mad. You've gone from 2016 making your first content to in 2022 now just, and you're this global household name as it relates to content, self-improvement, meditation, all of these topics, right? That's a short period of time. When you look back and you try and connect the dots, as Steve Jobs often did, about how Apple came to be and the little moments and the little things, whether it was a moment of good fortune or whether it was something that you have spotted in hindsight in your character, why was Jay Shetty successful in such a short period of time in such a big way? Give me the honest, practical answer. I don't want any. I want the why were you successful?
So I'm going to give you my monk answer, and then I'm going to give the media answer. So and I live by both, right? Like you have to see things as both, and that's why I love my monk answer is I was really fortunate to meet incredible people when I was young. I met a few people that absolutely transformed my life. I'm eternally indebted to them, grateful to them, and I owe it all to them. And so I give all my success to them. Without meeting those amazing mentors and those phenomenal thought leaders and thinkers who are not famous, who are not known, who are not present, like they're not in the social media world, they're not big names or whatever. Those people, if I never met them, none of this would have happened. And
I can see the emotion in your face when you say this.
Yeah, I really, we skipped it earlier, but I just feel like the gratitude that I have for people who saw potential in me when I didn't see it in myself. That is just the greatest gift you can give to someone. Like I today have self-awareness and I have confidence and I know who I am. And I wasn't always like that. Like there were tons of years where I was insecure and, I was bullied for being overweight and I was bullied for being the only Indian at school. And there was so much like baggage to do with just my body, how language I used and all this kind of stuff. And to have someone notice that you may have something, I mean, you've had that, and that is just, you like honor that person for the rest of your life. And the best thing is those people don't even want it. So, the best thing about all of this is the people there are not going, oh yeah, we did that. They're actually saying, no, it's not us, like it's you. And I think that's the beauty of that. So I have to say that it's important that I share that answer, not because I'm trying to give a more strategic answer, but I think it's important because it is a big part of it. And so that would be the monks that I met, it would be the coaches that I met, the guides that I met. Looking at it from a very practical, strategic standpoint, shifting now, my parents forced me to go to public speaking and drama school when I was 11 years old. And I really didn't want to go because I was shy. I was unconfident. I was insecure about being on stage or being in a public setting. I actually loved acting growing up. I really enjoyed acting and doing theater and things like that, where I was playing another character. But being myself on stage, that was the last thing I wanted to do. And my parents saw that, and they saw that as something that I should work on. So they forced me and my school to enroll me in a public speaking course. So from the age of 11 through to the age of 18, for 3 hours a day, 3 days a week, so 9 hours a week, for 7 years, I went to public speaking school.
Really?
For 7 years of my life, I went to public speaking school.
Wow.
So when I look back at my ability to communicate, my ability to understand ideas, and by the way, public speaking school is examination based too. So we had exams where they would give you a topic 15 minutes before. You have 15 minutes to research a topic from the books in the room that they give you, because there was no smartphone at the time when we were 11, 12 years old. And you'd have to create a speech in 15 minutes about that subject from the books that were in the room. You had to read from a book that you'd never read before. They'd pick a random page and they'd ask you to read it out. So the examination of a public, and this was at the London Academy of Music, Drama and Arts. It's called LAMDA. And that's where I studied for 7 years. So that's a very strategic skill set that I had the time to develop thanks to my parents. You know, like without my parents, none of that would have ever happened. And I think that's a big part of why people hopefully appreciate how I communicate ideas, because I've spent a lot of time understanding communication. But when I was 18, I had nothing to talk about. So even though I had all these tools and skills, I didn't really use them because I didn't care about anything. So sure, I gave a good presentation at university and work experience and an internship, but it was never something that brought me to life. And so then when I met the monks and I got an opportunity to study the Vedas, which are 5,000 years old, and again, we were put through rigorous study. We sat down, we had to learn verses, we had to analyze purports, commentaries on ancient scriptures, we had to do comparative analysis of religions and tradition. Like when I was a monk, we were massively trained in philosophical analysis. And that to me gave me a real strength and confidence in these ideas. So some of the ideas I present today that may sound simple, they're based on these really ancient, deep truths that I've had the time to grapple with the greats who really understand them. So that to me is a big benefit I've had, where I've had 3 years of complete dedication to studying philosophy, and not just studying the intellectual areas, but the practical and the applicable areas as well. So thanks to my monk teachers who gave me that. And then when I went to Accenture, where people were like, Jay, you're just a monk. Why did you go to Accenture? I had to pay the bills. I couldn't rely on my parents. And, you know, my parents are not wealthy that they could pay my way through life. And I moved back into my childhood bedroom when I was 26,
wow,
living with my parents with 18,000 pounds worth of debt, and just feeling that, you know, I was like, what do I do now? And I applied to 40 companies that would have given me a job. I'm a first class honors degree student. I'm a straight A student. And I was rejected from 40 companies because, surprise, surprise, no one wanted to hire a monk. So everyone goes, what are your transferable skills? Sitting quietly and sitting on the floor? Like, no one needs that. So 40 companies say no to me. Accenture finally give me a shot. And I meet someone called Thomas Power. And Thomas Power, I don't know if you ever met him actually. He's London-based. He started up like an early LinkedIn kind of version called Academy. And he's very networked in London in the business space. Definitely want to introduce you guys. He's awesome. And he was brought in by Accenture to train us in social media and train us in this new wave of this new thing that was happening. And it's really interesting because we've talked about it, me and him, many times. I'm going to have him on my podcast soon. And I realized, I was like, you didn't really teach me much about social media, but you really taught me about breaking my mindset. And he would always repeat Napoleon Hill, you become what you think about. And he'd always tell me that. He'd be like, keep saying that to yourself. And I'd keep saying that to myself, you become what you think about, you become what, and then I was like, oh, what am I thinking about? I'm not thinking about anything. So what am I going to become? Nothing. And it was just really interesting. And so he would give me these little tools and little things to play with. He had another one called ORS, which he would say that successful people have to be open, random, and supportive. And he'd say that most unsuccessful people are closed, selective, and controlling, CSC. And he was saying that when you live in a CSC mindset, you limit your growth. But when you live in an ORS mindset, open, random, and supportive, you expand your growth. So he'd encourage me to be open with strangers on Twitter. He'd encourage me to be open with random people we'd meet at a conference. And he was just training me in behaviors and mindsets. It wasn't like how to post and what time to post and this is how you make, it wasn't how to make something go viral. Like that wasn't it. It was how to engage, how to push your comfort zone, how to challenge your fear. Why are you so uncomfortable to walk up to that person and tweet them? You know, all of those kind of things. And I saw that my mind just became just open to the idea. So he would always tell me, you're an entrepreneur. I'd be like, no, I'm not. I meant to work for someone. And so he would keep pushing me until I'd get really angry with him. I'm like, you don't even know who I am. Only for me to realize he saw something in me that I never saw. And then I'd say from there on, that's kind of what gets me to the beginning of it. I would say that for 10 years before 2016, I was making content and delivering it in small venues in London. So I had an event in London at university called Think Out Loud. Every single week, I would design a poster on Photoshop. I taught myself Photoshop, and I would make a poster and I would talk about a movie from a philosophical, psychological, and spiritual perspective. So I'd take a movie like Inception and I'd break it down. And 10 students would come every week. And then I'd teach meditation, which I'd learned from the monks. And then 20 students would come. And then by the time I finished university, 100 people came every single week to hear me break down. And this was no followers. The events were free. I was preparing for free, doing everything for free. And I loved it. And I got so much joy. And then afterwards, when I was at Accenture, I ran an event in London called Conscious Living. And it was an event which was probably like £5 on a Friday night. And again, I was teaching philosophy, spirituality, and meditation. And I was lucky if 5 people turned up. It wasn't university anymore where you could go and deck the halls with flyers and posters and the common room and the community area. So we'd get like 5 to 10 people every Friday night, paying 5 to 10 quid just for the food that we gave and, you know, the posters that we made just to cover the costs. So for 10 years before I ever made a piece of content online, I've practiced, rehearsed, experimented, grappled, challenged these ideas again and again and again and again and again without any followers, without any money, and without anything else coming from it, apart from the fact that I love it. I love the idea of reading a book and trying to make it relevant. So I would say that the biggest reason is because I've done this for 10 years offline before it ever went online. So I've been doing it for like 16 years, and that doesn't count the 11-year-old public speaking classes.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Secret number 4 is set up your day with Dean Graziosi.
I've doubted myself.
Que quiero sentir tus labios besándome otra vez, suavemente. Bésame, que quiero sentir tus labios besándome otra vez. La morena tiene algo que me llena de sabor. Suave. Y esa blanquita tiene algo que me arranca el descontrol. Dame azúcar, dame 2 de azúcar. Dame 3 de azúcar, y morena
Στάση, παραβάλλει ένα τρομερό γκολ και το πετυχαίνει. Απίστευτο τέρμα από τον Γιώργο Εφραίμ που τρέχει να το πανηγυρίσει μαζί με τους συμπαίκτες του και τους φίλους του ΑΠΟΕΛ. Είναι το γκολ της αγωνιστικής, ενδεχομένως και ένα από τα...
Good morning, guys. Today I want to share a funny story. I'm sure we've all experienced this, and this is in no way intended to judge or make fun of anyone who might have a fear of our little friends of nature, as I call them, spiders. So it's a story that's been inspired by my daughters, my family. Actually, on the weekend, they saw a spider in the washroom, and they always call Daddy to come and get it. And you know, I'm not one to allow any fear of a little thing like that to stop me. So, but I also make sure that I use the cups of freedom, I call them, to set these friends of nature free. Because when you think about it, there's really no threat to you. They're so tiny. But I laugh, and I want to share this with you because here's another example of our mind control. So this little thing that it has no power over you because of the thoughts you have, it affects your fear that you create. So it's just another funny example. Have a great day, everybody.
You want to accelerate learning? Here it is. Goals, deadlines, deliverables. I know that's so basic. That's personal development 101. Just most people have never applied it to learning. In high school, I want to learn French. You can just show up to French class once a week or 3 times a week and just consume. But unless it changes when you say, my goal is to learn conversational French because I'm going to Paris in 4 months. So in that 4 months, I want to be able to introduce myself, ask where a restaurant is, ask where a bathroom is, get around town and visit these specific places and ask for clarification and ask people if they speak English and ask where I should go. Now I got a structure. To learn French is philosophy level. To learn French at this level is the science. This is the science of learning. You've got to get more clear about your learning goals. What do you want to learn specifically? By when? And what is the thing that you can do, the output or the deliverable, that shows that you learned it?
Need motivation? Watch the top 10 of Believe Nation because I love it.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because in my first business, I struggled to believe in myself. I quit on my business partner. And the thing that saved me was watching the successful stories of entrepreneurs. They gave me the inspiration to keep going, as well as the strategies of what to do. And quite honestly, I still need their stories and motivation today as well. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Brendon Burchard, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy.
Without these 3 things detailed, you are learning slow. And this is what most people do. You know, I like to learn about this thing. They buy 5 books on Amazon, one of which they read. They spend one random weekend downloading a TED Talk or, you know, getting sucked into YouTube. But there was no goal. This is the architecture of learning. Would you write that down? This is the architecture. This is the foundation. Without this, you are just browsing. Let me say that again. Without this, you are browsing. You are not learning. Real learning requires this first and foremost. Write this down. Without goals, deadlines, and deliverables, you are browsing. You are not learning. And that's why most people are struggling. They're only browsing. They're only browsing. They're only reacting. They live a life of browsing, reacting, browsing, reacting, browsing, reacting. Without that goal, without that strive, that thing to go for, we're just going to meander forever. But we can't advance learning if we're meandering. Listen, you learn a lot by wandering. I love curiosity. I love walking around. But remember, I promised this was a session about advanced learning. This is not just about general conception and just like hoping to be inspired. Advanced learning requires a goal, a deadline, a deliverable.
Rule number 2 is get strategic.
This is such an important topic. If we're going to have goals and deadlines in our learning, we must never, ever, ever start from scratch or proceed randomly. Never start from scratch and proceed randomly. Not at an advanced level. You're going to spend so much dumb time wandering through the woods, not knowing what you're supposed to do. So this is where this idea comes into play. You've got to model, block the learning, and practice. Model, block, learn, and practice. Model, block, learn, and practice. What does this mean? Well, model is pretty obvious. It means get a plan, get a roadmap, find somebody who's already done it, understand their strategies, right? You're trying to lose weight. Don't just go to the gym. Find a fitness program and follow that thing. You'll get way more results when you find a program, a roadmap, a way, a style, a method, and you follow that than you ever will randomly making it up. There's nothing you want to do in your life that someone has not already figured out and already laid the path for, already drew the roadmap. Buy the course, go to the seminar, watch their video, listen to their podcast. There's already a model. Never try to advance something without a model, right? Never try to advance something without a model. Next up, block learn. This means there's blocks of time in every single week of your life for that thing that you are trying to advance learn. So it's like, oh my gosh, I got to learn that French pretty quick. Well, you're not going to learn on a weekend. We need to make it sure it's part of your life. Block learning. When are you going to learn, apply, or practice that thing? Like schedule it out and schedule your learning out like you schedule out your work. So many people, I look at their calendars and their calendars, all these meetings. And I look at all their meetings. I go, well, meetings are fairly reactive or prospective, right? You're either reaching out, prospecting, or you're reacting in interviews, or doing status meetings, brainstorming meetings. But I'm like, but where are you learning the things that are going to advance the company? Where are you learning the things that are going to advance your health, your relationships, your marriage? If you're married, if I came into your life and I looked at your calendar and you want a better marriage, and there's nothing in next week about where you have blocked time to learn how to have a better marriage, I'm like, how do you think that's going to improve? Your random date night? No. Like I remember in relationships when I was struggling because I never learned how to have a good relationship. So in my 20s, I would block time to literally read and listen to relationship programs. I would block time at some point to get therapy or get coaching. Like I had like 3, 4, 5 years. Let me say that again, 3, 4, 5 years of studying relationships every week. And if I hadn't done that, there's no way I believe I could have, been blessed to attract or meet or connect with Denise. And came from that learning. And it made me good in relationships with people. I wasn't naturally good that way. I had to demand it of myself. I had to block the time. Okay. And then practice whatever skill set you're trying to develop. Same thing. Is it in the calendar? Is it in the calendar? Where is the practice? Just like when you're trying to teach your kids to learn the violin, they got to set the practice time. Okay, mom. Okay, dad. Where is your practice time? Where is it? Where's your practice time? You want to become wealthier? Okay. Where's your practice time to work on your finances? Where's your practice time to renegotiate that credit card bill? Where's your practice time to hit the gym? Where's your practice time to learn your new skill? Where's your practice time to do the homework? We have to have that in our own life. And when you don't have that, I know when I say this, you can get down on yourself. Oh gosh, why haven't I not been doing this? This is not an opportunity to beat yourself up for the past. This is an opportunity to learn and go, wow, let me set up this infrastructure in my life. Because learning, when it's set up as an infrastructure, that's how Olympians go from, good to one day a champion at their local level, to one day world level, to one day Olympic level. How? They set up the infrastructure around them to keep learning, to keep leveling up.
Rule number 3 is practice regularly.
If you really want to accelerate it, you've got to make the practice every day, or at least every week. I always tell people, if you're trying to learn something, every day. When I was trying to learn online marketing, every day I was studying a course. Every day I was watching a video. I mean, like every day for, I would say 3 years, I was taking some online marketing course for 3 years, every day. I want you to, every day. In that 3 years, I went from broke, literally in the verge of bankruptcy, to earning at the end of that third year, I'd made over $4 million. Broke, never did an online marketing, never set up a web page, never shot a video, never sent an email, didn't know how to do any of that. 3 years every day studying online marketing, 3 years every day. But also what I was doing, I was part of a community. I hired a mentor by basically taking their course and signing up for their coaching program. And I just stayed in it. And every day I studied, every day. And I think many of you could have gotten, similar or better results in a shorter amount of time. It took me 3 years every day till I finally was like, I think I really get this. 3 years every day before I had like that. Yeah, I think I really get this. All right. I didn't struggle with the esteem part. I always said, I can figure this out. But I know about myself. It takes me a little longer to learn than the average person. And I don't get discouraged. I just go, okay, I understand that about myself. But if I want to advance it, you can't dabble. You must immerse yourself. You must get committed. You must invest in yourself. You must dive in and make it part of your life. I did that in every area, from finances to health, to relationships, to running a business. All of those things I learned. That's why you all know every single day I read for at least an hour. I tend to have about 2.5 hours of block time a day for learning. And that learning might be a call to ask and interview somebody. That learning might be reading something. That learning might be something, and this is outside my normal job, right? This is just calling, asking, interviewing, researching, reading, just absolutely every day to this day, including Saturdays and Sundays. Learning is a part of my life. And I don't say that makes me fancy. I just know I need that much. That's my style. Maybe some of you can do it once a week because you're smart. And it's easier for you to go like, hey, Brent, I do. I know people who can learn 4 or 5 times faster than me just natively. It's just a personal individual intelligence they have. They can really absorb. Their memory's better than mine. I've had 2 brain injuries. My memory sucks. So I gotta hear it a couple times for me to really break through. Everyone's got their different things. So this is, again, not a braggadocious session. It's like, it took me 3 years every day.
Rule number 4 is mentor others.
You want
let's bring it back. Let's connect our breathing to our body, to our mind, to our energy. To our energy of determination. That's right. We determine. We don't choose and lose, give up, believe lies, give in to fear. We don't do that. We don't give in to anxiety, stress, things that are not the truth of who we are. The way you did your best today, whatever exercises, stretches you chose to do, it's the same process you get to use here, now, wherever you go. In the gym of life, you get to grow your mind. You get to grow your mind health and your mind wealth. It's all possible if you determine, make the winning choice to be kind, to be peaceful, caring, loving, appreciative, grateful for everything you have here and now. I'm so grateful for my breath right now. I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for our being, what we all truly are. I'm proud of my effort today, and I hope you are proud of yours. Because that effort, that process, that determination you use, it's available to you all the time. It's your greatest gift. So don't ever give up on using your determination to be your true, kind, positive, loving self. To control your own mind, no matter what is going on outside of it. You are infinitely intelligent, powerful beyond measure, and you get to work now more than ever on your own mind, your own body, your own energy, making yourself better now so that you can be better